Hey, what's up guys? It's Baha. So today I wanted to try out something. Actually, this has been kind of a long-running project. Something I really actually like to do in my free time I say, is building computers. It's just really interesting to me. I really like doing it. It started when I used to watch all those YouTube channels like Linus Tech Tips and stuff like that, so I got interested in the craft. And then I built my own. I like building computers. The issue with that is, computers are expensive. Why would you go for a computer? They're so expensive to build. Well, I wanted to see what I could do to make the cheapest possible computer that can still be like fairly decent. So I actually started my search by going to Reddit and asking for advice. To be totally honest, they weren't of much help, so I moved on and just went to Fiverr. Fiverr is a website where you can pay people for commissions, whether it be art, YouTube videos, intros, whatever. And I found a guy who makes PC part picker lists, which is a common website used to compile parts lists and check compatibility as well. So I went to that guy, paid him $5 to make the list, got the list, and I adjusted it to my liking, included some parts that I already had, like this old case and some RAM sticks, and then I bought the parts. So, in today's video, I will be showing you the process of how to build it, and when I say build, I'm not going to do like a detailed build video, you'll have to find that somewhere else. But I'll go through adding the individual parts and just show you some of the process, so let's go! So before we start, I actually wanted to show you guys what parts we're going to be working with and also what the workbench is like. I brought a screwdriver, a Phillips head, a smaller Phillips head screwdriver in case of small screws. I have a few parts that I've compiled from like my different cases and computer build over the years. And then we have our actual parts, the CPU. The CPU is pretty much like the major processing part of the human brain. This is what's going to make all the decisions and like figure everything out. The power supply, you never want to cheap out on power supply because a power supply is what keeps the machine running for possibly years on end. The RAM, which is essentially like a human's short-term memory. The more RAM you have and the faster the speed, the better off your computer will run multiple programs at once. And my sister, who I'm essentially building this for in the end, is going to be doing online school. She wants to play Minecraft, she wants to play Among Us, so I gave her some of my old RAM, which was not accounted for as part of the budget, except for in the part list where it is, which is 16 gigabytes, 2400 speed, so that, and then we have a Kingston, it's hard to see under this, but a Kingston 240 gigabyte SSD. I could have given her a hard drive, but I figured an SSD would be better because it's faster, and she doesn't need much storage, so I just cheaped out and did a fairly decent sized SSD. The motherboard, which I would say is equivalent to the actual human brain itself. It's not necessarily any of the parts in it, but it connects everything together. It connects the power supply to the CPU, the cards to whatever. Just, it connects everything. And again, I'm sorry if my explanations aren't the best for you guys. I'm just trying to give a basic. Go find like a YouTube video somewhere if you want to. Instead of an actual graphics card, I just decided to opt for using the AMD Athlon's Radeon Vega graphics, so it's onboard graphics. And then lastly, we have the case, which is the Cooler Master Masterbox 3.1 Lite. This is my old case. There's actually some sticker residue on there. I had some other stickers, but I took them all off. And it still works. It's compatible with the board, so I figured I'd just give it to her to save a bit more money. But anyway, let's go. So the first step would be to unbox the motherboard, which we have right here, the A320M S2H. So, inside of the box we have the motherboard, and the issue is that when working with a motherboard and PC part internals, it's actually recommended that you use a non-static surface. So, what people typically do is the box can act as a sort of non-static surface, so I will be taking it out of the bag and placing it back inside of the box. To be totally honest with you guys, I'm actually a bit jealous of my sister, which this computer is going to in the end. So hers board has what's called an NVMe port. And what the NVMe can be used for is it's an NVMe SSD, that's one of the functionalities of it. and it's a faster, even though it ends up being more expensive, it's essentially one of the more faster SSD options out there, and it goes right into the board right at this port. So the next thing to do when you have your motherboard all set up and ready is pull out the CPU and place it inside. So the CPU that we're using, as I mentioned earlier, is the AMD Athlon 3000G. The thing with the 3000G is that it has integrated graphics already, so I didn't need to buy another dedicated part, the graphics card. However, it also leaves room for like expansion later on. This CPU though, I was actually pretty lucky and got a decent deal. On Amazon, when I had been checking prior, the CPU was supposed to cost about $100, a bit more than that, but still the price point pretty high for a somewhat old part. However, I ended up finding it for about $50 instead, so I just bought it, and it went out of stock of the $50 option pretty shortly after, so I was lucky. So once you have your CPU ready, you look for the golden triangle in the top right corner. You lift the bracket, if there are any, which typically they will. You look for the bracket's mounting point. There will be an additional triangle on the CPU installer, and you will set it down and it should slide right in. And then when you're done, you push the bracket back down, secure it in place, make sure it's locked. The next step is to install the CPU heatsink or fan, which I don't know exactly what it's called, but it came with the 3000G. And so what we do in this instance is these two spots, we'll place it over. It already has the thermal paste pre-installed on it. So what we'll do is we place it over the CPU, make sure that it lines up with the two little brackets. We secure the brackets. We secure the handles to the brackets, and then we flip the lever over to lock it in place. Next, we will install the fan header, which happens to install right over here. We will actually deal with all the cable management later, so I apologize if this is a bit of an eyesore. Also, these cables are definitely interesting, to say the least. The next step of handling the motherboard would definitely be installing the RAM sticks. There are some boards that will have 4 slots of RAM and will allow for dual channel memory, but I don't believe this board has it, because typically there's 4 slots and you have to alternate, but these has 2, so there's no need to really alternate, especially since we have 2 RAM sticks. So we are just going to place these in here, and to install the RAM, make sure all of the clickers are down, slide it into the slot, make sure the hole at the bottom lines up with the little indent on the installs, and just push it down. And I know this might seem counterintuitive, but you push it down until you hear a snap. Don't worry, it's nothing breaking, it's the card securing, which is great, as we all know. We're actually going to take a quick break from the motherboard to install the power supply on the computer. The power supply we have is the Corsair CV450. This power supply also has 80+ bronze certification, which is good because it means that it won't fail, and typically Corsair will make sure that if it does fail, you will get some sort of compensation, whether it be a new power supply, new parts if they've failed it, etc., etc. So now we are going to take this entangled block and mess of cubes. We're going to take this cube and entangled mess of wires, move some of these wires out of the way that were already a part of the case, which will be attached to the motherboard or power supply later on, and place it inside of the case. Alright, and now that the power supply is inside of the case, the wires are still going to be entangled for now until we start installing more parts, but I'm going to screw in the power supply to make sure it doesn't move from its spot. Now that the power supply is installed, we can move on to the installation of the motherboard and the rest of the parts in the case. For this upcoming part, my camera battery decided to die out of nowhere, so I switched over to my phone. As I was transferring the footage from my phone to my computer, however, I found out that some of the footage had gotten corrupted, and when I put it in my editor, some of it worked, some of it didn't, and even the ones that worked made the editor a bit laggy, so I apologize if there's any inconsistencies. Hope you guys enjoy. Is I'm going to plug it in. It's plugged in over there. The reason I'm over here, I'm at my desk. I know it's a kind of a weird setup, but it's the closest place with a power cable, which is back there. I know, again, I'm sorry about my cable management. I'm not the best. There's my actual computer, by the way. It's really, really pretty. Anyway, let's try this. So, theoretically, oh, wait. Please. The fan sounds are a bit concerning, but I'll take it. I am an idiot. I knew cable management would come back to haunt me one day. So at least now we know that's running. No sounds, all the fans are running smooth. I haven't tried plugging it into a monitor, but we'll do that in a bit. I wanted to point out though that this case did come with one fan, so that's plugged in as well. It's an exhaust, I believe. And then we have the CPU fan, and that's got the graphics and everything on it. Everything's plugged in, SSD secured, and let's see if it works. All right, so I have the PC set up, all the cables are set, it's good to go, things are plugged in, so it's ready to test. I also have this LED light strip, which is a bit jank because it's actually connected with a USB cable right there and open in one of the PCI Express slots. And so that's a little bonus thing. I just had one left over. And anyway, I know it's not, I apologize for the setup. However, we're going for functionality over fashion at the moment. So let's just make sure it powers on again, and we'll see if it displays an image. So it's powered up, fans are running. Seems to be all okay. However, the ultimate test is the screen. So it's saying we need a boot device. So therefore, time to get a flash drive ready. After a small bit of troubleshooting, we finally got the computer up and running, and a bit of moving around. My keyboard, my computer is actually running at the moment, and so is this one. This is the second monitor that I usually use, so I just hooked the other computer up, and boom, it's running Windows. I got the key activated and everything, and yeah. Alrighty, and that wraps up the build for today. So in the end, it ended up being about $300. The PC part picker list will be in the description for anyone who wants something like this or just is curious of all the parts and such. And I ended up booting it into Windows. I got the key all installed. I got her Among Us, Minecraft Bedrock Edition, which she wanted because she wants to be able to play with her friends, and a few other essential programs. So she's good to go. And I'm also going to be giving her a headset, a microphone, a keyboard, and I will be finding a mouse sometime soon to be able to give to her. So that's all for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you want more PC building content, let me know. If you want more Minecraft content, that's coming up! Alright, have a good one, y'all.